What's up guys, this is Nick at BarBend.com, and this is actually not all the meal replacements I've reviewed. These are just the best. I've tried many meal replacements on the market, and today I've landed on the best meal replacements for weight loss, the best ones for muscle gain, the best for people with diabetes, the best for elderly folks, and a bunch of other categories. This is actually a refilm of a previous video that we've done. I've updated this and added some extra categories that you guys have been asking us about. If you want to see the full written review, which has extra runners up and more details on these products, make sure you Google the full roundup with BarBend plus best meal replacements. But for now, let's get started on the most common question that I receive. What's the best meal replacement for weight loss? So first, let me tell you how I decided on these products. Like, what are the criteria we use for assessing what is a good and bad meal replacement? So there are like 3 or 4 things that I really look very closely at here. The first is the micronutrients. There are a lot of products out there that just have like 5 vitamins and minerals. I look for a good like 24 or so. There's a really wide variety of nutrition the body needs throughout the day, of course. And if you want to substitute for a meal, you don't want to just get some vitamin C. You want to hopefully get like maybe some choline, some chromium, some manganese, some magnesium, all these kinds of things. So I look at that as well when I'm looking at meal replacements. The second thing is the macronutrients, the protein, the carbohydrates, and the fat, and also the fiber, which is a type of carbohydrate. So a lot of meal replacements out there, they're just sort of nutritious protein shakes or nutritious carbohydrate shakes. What I really value very strongly is something with a good mixture of protein and fat and fiber and carbohydrates, as a well-balanced meal would. That's not to say that I never include products that are very low calorie with like pretty low fat, but I really just prefer the products with like a good mixture of those macronutrients. And on that note, the third thing I look for is a good amount of calories. Because again, a well-balanced meal, even if you're on something like a 1200 calorie diet, a meal replacement would be a good 400 calories. Now, not many meal replacements out there do reach that amount of calories. Nonetheless, I do really highly value those products as well. Finally, essential fatty acids. So a lot of these meal replacements, if they do contain fats, a lot of the time it comes from sunflower oil or soybean oil or something very high in omega-6 fatty acids. Without getting too deep into the science here, a good balance of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are pretty important for the body. A lot of studies suggest that they're important for helping to control inflammation and help with immunity, maybe even possibly helping with mental health. So that's also something I look for. Now that's very rare, so I don't penalize too harshly, but some of the best, they have some omega-3s. So when it comes to the best meal replacements for weight loss, I do need to first make it clear that I am not a doctor, and you should speak with your physician if you do have any concerns about your weight or if you're starting a new weight loss regimen. That said, Ample is definitely my favorite meal replacement for weight loss. And that's just because it really does tick most of those boxes that I mentioned earlier. I'm always running out of Ample myself. I'm always going through my crates of it. What I really like about Ample is that it is a really good mixture of protein and carbohydrates and fiber and fat. As I mentioned, like a real meal actually is. And because of all that protein and fat and fiber, it's very filling. A lot of people think this is a bit of a strange thing to mention as a weight loss product because the minimum amount of calories you're going to get with Ample is 400 calories and you can go up to 600 calories. First of all, let's keep in mind that if you're having like 1200 calories in a day, that's an extremely low calorie diet, and this is replacing a meal, that's still going to be fine for you. But also, compared to other meal replacements, which tend to be, a lot of them are like just very nutritious, low calorie protein shakes, this is just much better in my experience at actually satiating your hunger and keep you going until the next meal with plenty of energy and without too much hunger throughout your day. So that's definitely why I really liked it. It also has omega-3 fatty acids, which I mentioned earlier. Here that comes from a chia seed extract, and there's some added antioxidants. And there's a bunch of probiotic bacteria here as well to help improve like digestive health and like maybe even improve nutrient uptake as well. That's a bit of a maybe. The science on that is pretty young, but nonetheless, Ample, I really think it's a fantastic product. My runner-up for best meal replacement for weight loss is definitely IdealShape's IdealShake. There's a lot to like here. This is very low in calories, just 100 calories per scoop if that's what you're going for, or if that's your approach to weight loss. It is very low in calories. It's also got quite a few more vitamins and minerals added to it when you compare it to Ample. There is artificial sweetness in this, and it is relatively sweet, but you can always just add extra water to it, so it's not a huge deal that it is so sweet. But a couple interesting things here, it has digestive enzymes added to it, which could help with nutrient uptake. It could help with indigestion among some people, not everyone, it's not a guarantee, but it does help some folks. But what's really interesting here is it contains Slendesta, which is a potato protein extract. So studies have actually found that potatoes may be the most satiating food like in the entire world. So there are a lot of products out there that have taken this extract out of potatoes and put them into like meal replacements or protein shakes and things like that. And it can indeed have a pretty remarkable effect on hunger. So if appetite is like a bit of an issue for you, but you still want to keep calories really low, this could potentially help you out. Now, as the best meal replacement for women, I'm not of the mind that women need completely different nutrients than men. But when you look at the industry, there are certain nutrients that do appear to be more highly valued by female consumers when you look at brands that are targeted at women. So with that in mind, I'm a pretty big fan of Nature's Bounty Complete Protein and Vitamin Shake Mix. And look, this is a good product for anyone. There's a really wide variety of vitamins and minerals. It's all natural. There's a billion probiotics in there. So there's a ton of touches like that. For female consumers in particular, the brand itself does focus on collagen because it has links to joint and skin health. There's biotin, which may help with hair health. There's also a pretty big emphasis on calcium as well. And women do tend to be advised to keep track of their calcium more than men because they're at a higher risk of osteoporosis. So a few little touches like that I think make this a pretty good pick for women, but men as well. My runner-up for this category would be IdealShake by Isagenix. I really like the strawberry cream flavor, and it's all natural, which is really surprising, and I only found that out after I'd had like 3 glasses of it. It has a really wide variety of vitamins and minerals, which is nice. It has some probiotic bacteria in there as well. Plus it has 450% of the recommended daily intake of biotin, which, as I mentioned, tends to be pretty highly valued by certain female consumers. But again, it's pretty good for men too. I drink this a lot. Another really common question we get is what's the best meal replacement for women who are trying to lose weight? And again, I should just say I'm not a doctor. Talk to your doctor about your weight loss regimen. In my opinion, IdealShape's IdealShake is a really, really good option. Women do tend to consume fewer calories than men throughout the day on average. This has just 110 calories or 100 calories for some of the products. So that could be really useful for women. It's also pretty high in fiber, pretty high in protein, which is very satiating. There's also a VitaFiber blend, which could also make it a little bit more satiating. And then there's a potato protein extract that I mentioned earlier, which can make it even more satiating. So there's a lot of things going on here to help appetite control. So I think it's a pretty good option for women trying to lose weight. I think the best runner-up in this category has got to be VitaShape's Nutritional Shake Mix. This is actually like the best tasting, or one of the best tasting in my opinion. This sweet cream flavor goes down really easily with some milk. It's also just 90 calories per scoop, which is crazy. This is like one of the lowest calorie mixes I've seen. A ton of vitamins and minerals. It's also got some interesting digestive enzymes, including aminogen. And like one study actually found that helped people to absorb more protein than they would otherwise. So like digestive enzymes can have a pretty interesting impact here. Combined with the low calories and all the nutrients, this is a really good bet as well. So what if you're trying to go in the other direction and you're trying to gain muscle or gain weight? Well, there are a few things I took into account here. Obviously, calories are pretty important. You don't want these like 90 calorie shakes if you're trying to gain weight. But also I look for shakes with a lot of carbohydrates in them because like as a general rule, people tend to go higher fat when they're trying to lose weight and higher carbohydrate when they're trying to gain weight. So that's why I picked Sogo here. I think it's a really interesting product. I like it a lot. It's very tasty. It's very popular among survivalists as well. If you don't open the bag, it lasts for 20 years. But what I really like about this, 430 calories per serving, which is a decent amount. You're gonna get 19 grams of protein and 46 grams of carbohydrates with 5 grams of fiber. It has the same amount of protein as fat, which I don't absolutely love, but it does make for a shake that's really tasty, and it's one of the most nutritious I've ever seen as well. The runner-up for best meal replacement for weight gain, I think it's gotta be Queel right here. It stands for Quick Meal. This is a Dutch company. This is 700 calories per serving, which is pretty remarkable. Now, that is 700 calories from 5 scoops, so obviously you can just have fewer scoops if you wanna have fewer calories, but still 700 calories, that's a pretty good amount of calories. There's also a nice ratio of protein to carbs to fat. It's not as high in carbohydrates relative to protein as Sogo, which is why this is number 2. But still, you're getting 49 grams of protein, 79 grams of carbohydrates, 14 grams of fiber, and it is very, very nutritious as well. And honestly, this awesome apple pie flavor is pretty awesome. So Queel has a lot going for it as well. Now, as for the best meal replacement for keto, if you're following a ketogenic diet, I really highly recommend Ample K. This is a 600 calorie bottle. You can also get it in 400 calories. Now the macros are really good, which seems like obvious if you're talking about a keto product, but there are a lot that have like equal parts protein and fat, which is a little bit unusual. This has a solid 50 grams of fat for 19 grams of carbohydrates, and there's a lot of fiber in here as well, so the net carbohydrates are pretty low. Absolutely delicious. The real reason why I really like this for keto diet is just so convenient. Like if you do follow a keto diet, you know that especially when you're out and about, it can be really hard to get a source of calories. This, you just fill up with water, give it a shake, and it's good to go. Plus, it's a bit more nutritious than the regular Ample. This has added magnesium and vitamin D and calcium. And there's also 10% of your daily iron there as well. So yeah, really big fan of this, and of course, it's absolutely delicious. As for the second best meal replacement for the keto diet, I think you might be a big fan of Kegenix keto meal. The macros are a bit unusual. It's like 10 grams of protein and 10 grams of fat, so it's not as high in fat as a lot of people might expect, but it does have a ton of vitamins and minerals, and very importantly, this contains exogenous ketones. So this was like devised by Dom D'Agostino, who's a big authority in the world of ketosis, and a lot of folks in the keto diet try to get some exogenous ketones because that could maybe help with energy levels, but there are of course a lot of other people who don't like getting exogenous ketones. They feel it interferes with like certain fasting properties of their keto diet. So it really kind of depends on you as if that's a pro or a con, but you do need to know that the taste of these ketones is a little metallic, so watch out for that. So when someone asks what's the best meal replacement for athletes, there are a couple things to think about, but what I really emphasize is a good balance of protein and carbohydrates. Like in my experience, active individuals, especially on workout days, they'll often shoot for a ratio of like 1 part protein to like 3 parts carbohydrates, maybe like 4 or 5 if they're really trying to pack on the pounds. So with that in mind, I think the best one out there, surprisingly enough, GNC's Total Lean Shake. I thought this is a pretty good option. So in a 1 serving, it's 180 calories, so it's not crazy high in calories, but I can see this being a good option after a workout because it's got 9 grams of protein to 32 grams of carbohydrates and just 3 grams of fiber, so you are getting like a decent amount of net carbohydrates here. There's also a ton of vitamins and minerals, and the taste is pretty good as well. It's a bit sweet, but I think a lot of guys who like protein shakes are gonna be happy with this. My second favorite meal replacement for athletes, it has got to be Grub Sub. So this has a lot more calories than GNC Lean Shake, which is why I quite like it. You're gonna get 26 grams of protein and 61 grams of carbohydrates in this, so I like the ratio. The flavor is a bit of a bland soy type flavor, but that does make it a pretty good base for shakes, which Grub Sub like strongly advises you do, like to make shakes with it, throw in some fruit, stuff like that. And the nutrition is incredible. There's a huge variety of vitamins and minerals as well. So Grub Sub, definitely one of my favorites. So what about the best meal replacement for people with diabetes? Well, once again, I need to emphasize, I am not a doctor. You should speak with a doctor or your certified diabetes educator for better information about all this. But in my experience, as someone who has worked in the health field for quite a while now, I have found that people with diabetes are typically advised to not just control their sugar intake and their net carbohydrate intake, not necessarily like limit it, but just like keep it in check. But also they're sternly advised to monitor their saturated fat and cholesterol intakes a little bit more than the average person because they may be more prone to certain heart conditions than the average person. That's a maybe, but yeah, saturated fat, cholesterol, and net carbohydrates, and also protein are all pretty strongly emphasized in my experience. So with all that in mind, I think 310 Shake is actually a pretty good bet here. It's just 90 calories in a scoop, so it could help folks trying to lose weight. 15 grams of protein. There's also 7 grams of carbs with 5 grams of fiber. So there's just 2 grams of net carbohydrates, and the fiber is like pretty good as well. That's like 20% of the recommended daily intake of fiber. When you add that to the fact there is no saturated fat and no cholesterol whatsoever, and it's all natural, and there's a ton of vitamins and minerals here, I really think 310 Shake is a slam dunk. Now my runner-up for the best meal replacement for people with diabetes, I think it's gonna be Boost Nutritional Drink. This is called Boost Glucose Control. So it's a bit higher in calories, which could be a pro or a con depending on your own dietary goals. It's 190 calories. You get 16 grams of protein and 16 grams of carbohydrates, so it's not as low in carbs as 310, but it still gives you 3 grams of fiber and there's just 4 grams of sugar in here. In fact, it's actually specifically formulated for people with diabetes. It says so right there in the bottle. And it's also got a ton of vitamins and minerals added there as well. So this is a pretty good bet, especially if you need something to drink on the go. Now, another question that I often get is what is the best meal replacement for breakfast? Because of course, breakfast is when you're really crunched for time, so convenience becomes like a really big issue here. That's why I went with Ample. Again, I know I keep talking about Ample. I really do like Ample. This bottle here makes it really convenient and really elevates it above a lot of other meal replacements on the market. Plus, when you think about breakfast, for most people, it's like a bowl of cereal or maybe a bagel, sometimes a donut. What I mean is most people just have like fast digesting carbohydrates without a lot of like protein to go with it. Ample, on the other hand, has protein, it has fiber, it has fat. It's really, really filling. And in my experience, it can easily get you through to lunch without a lot of hunger cravings in the morning that I know a lot of us are very familiar with. Now my second favorite for breakfast has got to be Soylent. I'm actually talking about the ready to go Soylent bottles though, which I don't have here because I drank them all because I really like the product. But the ones that you get in the fridge, you can just take with you in the morning. Again, of course, it's very, very convenient being able to just take it with you and you don't have to mix it with water like you do with Ample. However, I think Ample is really tasty. It's got a ton of fat in there and there are no artificial ingredients. Soylent, it does have the artificial sweetness sucralose and it still tastes quite a bit like soy. So that's why I put it at number 2. But the nutrition is really, really impressive with Soylent. And again, there's that convenience factor. Finally, I want to talk about the best meal replacement for elderly folks, because they do have slightly different nutritional requirements than others. Like there is a chance they may need like lower calories as well to support a lower body weight, but you still need to really emphasize things like calcium and vitamin D, vitamin B12, things like that. So that's why I went with IdealShape's IdealShake again here. What I really did like about this, again, it does have 80% of the daily vitamin D and 70% of the daily calcium, which is a pretty big hit, and they both go towards bone strength, which is obviously really important in old age and at any age at all. Another thing that I like about this, it has a good hit of B12 as well, which older folks are often advised to really focus on as well. So this is a very, very nutritious product. It is also pretty low in calories, which could be a good or a bad thing based on your own individual goals. I do want to say that yes, it is kind of sweet, which might be a little bit intolerable for older folks, but they do have a naturally sweetened version with stevia, so that could be a good option in that regard. My runner-up in this category is Huel. Now, IdealShake is a really good product, but as I mentioned, it's pretty low in calories, which can actually be very necessary for a lot of folks. But if you're on the other side of the spectrum and you actually need to get a good amount of calories in your diet pretty quickly, this is 500 calories per serving if you choose the 3-scoop route, but it's easy to get lower calories or more calories as you want. They also have a pretty wide variety of flavors. Like this is one of the flavor additions here. It's chocolate. There are a bunch of other ones you can get as well. And it's got a really good mixture of protein and fat and carbohydrates. It's a very well-rounded meal, and I think anyone at any age could do well to have Huel in their diet. All right, so those are my picks for the absolute best meal replacements on the market. I have tried so many meal replacements and I'm really confident with that final list. But look, if you want to see the full written roundup, which has some extra runners up in each of these categories, so you can help make up your own mind, make sure you Google the roundup with BarBend plus best meal replacements.